Hello friends, welcome to another episode from my series Quick Thoughts On, in which I always talk about different stories from the rich Star Trek universe. 30 years and a few weeks ago, we have seen for the first time the next episode from the first season of Star Trek The Next Generation called Angel One, and these are my honest opinions about it. Angel One is a giant piece of shit. But as always, those are just my opinions. Feel free to write down your opinions down in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button, and if you have some free time, feel free to watch any of the other videos on my channel. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time. Bye. Okay, I'll go into more details. Doing these videos is usually a lot of fun. I must admit that there are so many great episodes which I simply love watching again, but at the same time, doing these videos means that I have to watch episodes like Code of Honor, Spock's Brain, or Angel One. There are so many problems with this episode. It's pretty rare that I watch a story and I want to punch everybody involved with it. This episode has 3 storylines and none of them is good. The first one deals with feminism and the fact that I have no idea if it's trying to promote feminism or mock feminism is a tiny little bit of a problem, don't you think? I mean, I shouldn't be asking if you are promoting an ideology or making fun of it. The B story deals with a virus and makes no sense. The C storyline deals with a Romulan threat and it leads absolutely nowhere. If you would drop it, it would hurt the story. No way. The Enterprise has discovered the wreckage of the starship Odin, which has disappeared 7 years ago, but 3 escape pods are missing and it looks like they might have landed on the planet Angel 1, which is a near Class M planet. This planet has a matriarchy, meaning that the women are in charge and the men are extremely feminine. So the women are very masculine, right? Well, no, their leader Beata looks like she could be playing beach volleyball in some skimpy bikini. I always thought that female politicians should look like Angela Merkel and not like a supermodel. Captain Picard wants to show how not sexist he is and lets Counselor Troi to establish a diplomatic connection with the rulers. It's not because she's competent, but because she's a woman, and that makes it somehow not sexist, I think. When the away team, which consists of Troi, Tasha, Riker and Data, arrives on the planet, which apparently is on the level of the mid-20th century Earth, they try to find out if the government knows anything about the survivors, but Beata tells them to wait. By the way, I shouldn't use the term government. The only people we see are Beata, Bonnie from Knight Rider, and a man whose testosterone levels are so low that he could be a BuzzFeed writer. But let's talk for a moment about the second and third plotline. Wesley and some Asian guy are learning to ski in holodeck when Picard and Worf are traveling together in a turbolift. Picard explains Worf that they have to soon get to the neutral zone because there is some unexpected Romulan activity, but when they leave the turbolift, Picard gets Wesley's balls in his face. I mean snowballs, of course, because for some reason the holographic snow can exist after it leaves the holodeck. Well, it was really inconsistent in the early episodes. Picard then smells some Klingon flower, because why not? Meanwhile, Data tries a perfume, because that's what the fans want to see. Lady Beata calls them and says that indeed the survivors are there, but they have no clue where, because they are hiding. They are considered to be criminals, and our team has to find the survivors and get them off the planet, otherwise they will be found and killed by the Angels. Meanwhile, on the Enterprise, Wesley and the other boy are ill. Wait, didn't we miss a few scenes? Yeah, the illness subplot comes out of nowhere basically and leads really nowhere. And of course, Picard starts to show the symptoms too. Data suggests that they can search the survivors by searching for platinum, which is an element which is not available on Angel One. Riker is called to a private audience at Lady Beata's place, but he's forced to wear a sexy or sexist outfit, which the ladies find hilarious. Beverly, meanwhile, realizes that Captain Picard is no longer capable of performing his duties. Somehow he looks really fine to me, so she releases him, and command goes to Geordi. And Geordi actually looks pretty good in the chair. He feels very confident. Tasha and Deanna find Riker's outfit hilarious, but Beata finds it sexy, I guess. And what does the elected leader of a whole planet do with a diplomatic representative of another race? She bangs him, of course. Yeah, I know Kirk used to do it too, but for him it was always consensual and or a part of a plan how to get the woman on his side. In other words, it was usually important for the plot. This Beata and Riker sex scene feels more like she raped him, but it's played for laughs, so... Because when it happens to a woman, it's a crime, but when it happens to a man, it's funny, I guess? Meanwhile, Data, Tasha and Deanna find the platinum and beam to the place, where they find MacGyver. I don't know where they got the actor, but he not only wears stuff that MacGyver would wear, he even looks like a young Richard Dean Anderson, and has his hair cut. We quickly intercut for something which I guess was supposed to be a funny scene on the Enterprise, where more and more people are ill, only to get back to MacGyver, who tells our heroes to piss off, and because they were civilians and not a part of the Federation, Data says that they can't force them to leave. So right now we have 3 plotlines, all of them are boring and going nowhere. Great. Riker is getting raped. MacGyver explains to the OA team that they got married and have kids, so they don't want to leave their families, and on the Enterprise bridge everybody except for Geordi is ill. And I don't care. And we see that MacGyver's wife is Bonnie from Knight Rider. What a twist, I guess. When Beata finally stops having an awkward sex scene with Riker, the BuzzFeed writer brings her the 308 team members. When she hears that they didn't succeed, she changes the plan. The survivors will be found and executed by the inhabitants of Angel 1. When Dr. Crusher goes to bed with a naked Captain Picard, she realizes how the virus spreads and creates a vaccine. So yes, the whole plotline was just a huge waste of my time, thank you. Our OA team meanwhile realizes that Beata has used them to find the survivors, arrested them and now threatens to execute them. Great job! Data beams back to the ship because until Dr. Crusher vaccinates everybody, there is no one left to run the bridge, and is ordered to go to deal with the Romulan threat before it's too late. Riker, Tasha and Deanna meanwhile are going to witness the execution. The execution using a disintegrator. You know, how is it possible that a civilization on the level of Earth in the middle of the 20th century has a disintegrator machine? Ah, screw it. Riker tries to make the speech and convince Beata that MacGyver trying to get more rights for men isn't a political revolution, but an evolution, but Beata doesn't give a damn. The BuzzFeed writer is going to execute them using his ball, but Bonnie from Knight Rider protests and Beata gives up and changes the sentence to deportation. So, instead of being deported, they are now going to be deported. But they won, I guess. The OA team beams back to the ship because Data took the orders literally and still is on the orbit. Dr. Crusher injects them and we see the only entertaining scene in this episode where Picard tries to give his order with his failing voice, similar to my voice right now. This is the only scene in the whole episode I sort of like. This episode is special. In the Special Olympics kind of way. Back in November 1987 they actually had to stop shooting for a few days because the script was not finished, and you can clearly see that the final script was rushed. When things just happen in your script without any rhyme or reason, you have a big problem. All three plots are stupid. Do you remember the times when women in our societies didn't have the right to vote, or to own property, or to marry who they want in many cases? Well, it wasn't fair, so they started to protest, and what did the men do? They finally said, yes, that sounds reasonable, and changed the laws. And now, in 2018, all over the so-called first world countries, women are equal to men and have exactly the same rights as men. And some of them still protest and still want more and call it equality for some reason, but let's not go into that. So, what do the women do in the society when men want equality? They try to kill them. Do you see why I don't know if this author was trying to promote feminism or mock feminism? We have a virus on the Enterprise, okay, how did it get there? We know how the infection is spreading, that's okay, but how can one virus infect humans and Klingons? Not to mention all of the other species we don't see in this episode but we know is on board. Only now that I write this down, I have noticed that apparently the guys have been on a field trip to some planet, but it was mentioned only in dialogue. I'm sorry, television is a visual medium. If you want to tell us that the kids got infected with a virus on some planet, you have to show us that stuff. I said many times I'm watching these episodes with my family, which means I'm watching a dubbed version of both series, and the dialogue just wasn't there. Also, why was this plot added to the episode? If you would cut it out of the episode completely, it would have no impact on the story at all. It would just make the episode much shorter, and in this case, that would be a giant improvement. The Romulan threat sounds interesting, but why do they mention it when they go absolutely nowhere with it? Or is it somehow connected to the last episode of the first season? Because that one deals with Romulans and a neutral zone. I remember a few years ago, I even tried to watch these two episodes back to back, thinking that that was the originally planned episode order, but it just didn't work. I don't like this episode, except for the last scene and the famous matte painting, which will be seen in many other episodes of TNG and also other series. The plot is boring and sometimes even insulting. The dialogue is stupid, the acting is okay, I mean the actors are trying, but with the shitty script, even their hard work looks bad. These side plots are going nowhere and just wasting my time. I hate this episode and I hope I won't have to see it anytime soon. So after Code of Honor, this is the second episode of the first season I absolutely hate. At least the last 8 episodes of the first season will be pretty good. On my scale from 0 to 10, where 0 is absolute garbage, 5 is just average, and 10 is a masterpiece, I would give this episode 1 out of 10. That's all I can say. But as always, those were just my opinions. Feel free to write your opinions down in the comment section. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button, and if you have some free time, feel free to watch any of the other videos I have on my channel. You should see some links on screen right now. Thank you very much for watching, and see you very soon. Bye.